Hi guys, so I'm a little late with my Q&A video for today, but I've just been so busy and just trying to keep up with everything because I've mentioned a couple times that my mom had surgery a couple weeks back, and so there were just some slight complications, so we've been doing some at-home care, and that sort of, kind of threw my schedule off a bit, so but I did promise Q&A, so here we go. So I just pulled a couple of questions from the comments in last week's vlog video and also from my Instagram, and there's just no way that I could get through all the questions that you guys asked, but I can definitely do some, so maybe I'll just have to do another Q&A video next week or something. So one of the first questions was, how often do I go into the office? So it usually just depends on how many meetings I have that week. I love working from home. It's like my comfort place, but I know that we need a studio space, and because we're doing workshops and I have meetings there and production happens there, and there's always so much, going on that I always have to at least show my face a couple times a week. I should go every day, but I try to work from home whenever I can, especially now that mom's here. But yeah, maybe 3 or 4 days a week, give or take a day. Let's see, where did I get the pin that I wear all the time? Oh, my big safety pin. So in a lot of my pictures, you guys will see that I wear this gold big safety pin. I love that pin. People ask me about it all the time, and honestly, I got it in the Notion section at Joann Fabrics. And so it's not like some pendant I bought or something fancy or even, brand name. It's literally in the Notion section where you get buttons at Joann Fabrics. That's where I got it. I got it in silver and I got it in gold. Let's see, what sewing machines do you recommend? I sew on Baby Lock, so I always recommend Baby Lock, especially since I started sewing on them full time about, I guess, 1.5 years ago. They are amazing, and they have machines that range from like $99 to, my machine, which is, in the double digits as far as it's about $10,000 or something. I don't know, something crazy. But anyway, if you go to sewitacademy.com, which is my online sewing school, there's a tab that says resources. And if you click that resources tab, it will take you to a list of sewing machines that I have either sewn on or recommend, especially for beginners. How tall are you? I'm 5'4", so 5 feet 4 inches tall, 5'5" on a good day. How long does it take you to produce a pattern? So it depends, right? So I do several different patterns. So I have my licensee patterns through Simplicity, and those are in retail stores at every Joann's, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, anywhere patterns are sold. You'll find the Mimi G for Simplicity patterns. Those we work pretty far ahead because I've already submitted designs for summer 2018, and those are currently, that pattern is currently in production now. So we're going through the design phase, and usually what happens is, in early fall, I start designing for summer of the following year. And once I get all my sketches together, I send them off to the people that I work with, the amazing people at Simplicity, Deb in particular. And then me and Deb sort of go through my design and we talk about specs, right? So I have to let her know, how wide I want that waistband, or how big I want my buttons, and how long I want my dress, and the width of the neckline, or whatever. I mean, in details as far as, what the design needs to look like and specs for the pattern. And then they do the first pattern and they create the first samples, and then they send them to me, and I check to make sure that it fits the way that I want, that it's the correct length, that there's enough ease where I want it to be, remove ease if there's too much in areas that I don't want it. I usually fit on myself, and then I let them know it's a go, or we need to make revisions. If we need to make revisions, then the process starts all over again. If we're good to go, then I get the final pattern sent to me, and we actually cut, sew, and photograph the finished image that you see on the pattern envelopes, I do all of that in-house. That way I can sort of control exactly how it's going to look, fit, and basically how my product is going to land on your cutting table. So I have a lot of control when it comes to my designs with Simplicity, and so I really appreciate that relationship. And like I said, we work pretty far ahead because I'm about to get all of my summer samples pretty soon here. As far as my PDF patterns, those are the ones that you print at home. We work like maybe weeks ahead. So I know a lot of PDF pattern designers work, 3-6 months ahead. But, if I have a new design in my head, I send it to my pattern maker, my PDF pattern maker. And, by next month I have a finished product. So she's amazing. And then, like I said, it's on the website. You guys can print it, tape it together, and sew it. I like PDF patterns because it's faster for me to get an idea from my head to your cutting table because, with Simplicity, there's a long process. We have to manufacture the pattern. It gets shipped to the stores. There's a much longer process where when it's a digital download, I literally design, send it to my pattern maker. She sends me the pattern. I test the samples, make sure everything fits, everything works. Then I, give her the okay. She sends me the finished PDF files, and then you guys get those files. So it's a pretty quick turnaround when we do PDF patterns. Let's see. What is compression mesh? Oh my God. So I did this video on YouTube with All Def Digital. I think it was for Ladies Room. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, so when I make something for myself, especially if it's a fitted dress or a fitted skirt, I put in my own sort of Spanx, right? And so I use this mesh fabric that is really tightly knitted, and so it sort of stretches around my body. And I cut it a little smaller than I do the actual garment so that it snaps onto my body. And I call it compression mesh. I mean, it's just a name I made up. But that's basically what it is. It's like built-in Spanx that I put into my dresses and my skirts. I actually have a YouTube video coming up, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, on how to add compression mesh to your skirts and dresses so that you don't have to wear Spanx, because I don't like wearing Spanx. But, let's see. How do I maintain my sewing mojo? Well, sometimes I lose my sewing mojo. Sometimes I don't feel like sewing. It's rare for it to happen, but it does happen every so often. Usually I just look through magazines or online, Pinterest, Instagram, and get inspired, and I just save images of things I want to make or duplicate or copy or whatever. And then I just sort of wait until, I get my mojo back. And sometimes it's just because there's, either a lot of things going on, or I'm busy, or sometimes I just don't feel like it. And it's my hobby. Even though it is my business, it's still my hobby, and I love to sew. But I think just like with everything else, you go through this sort of phase where you just, just aren't in the mood, and it's okay. Just write it out and, look for things that inspire you, and it'll kick back up. Let's see. Where did I learn to sew? Well, I learned when I was little. My aunt was a seamstress, so I learned when I was about 12 years old. I used to just sort of watch her, and then my dad bought me a sewing machine, and I started to take apart my clothes and then copy them and put them back together to make more of those same items. And that's sort of how I started to teach myself construction. And then, I'm self-taught, so I've just basically taught myself, throughout the last 20-something years. Now you guys have, DIYers and YouTubers and people like me who create tutorials, and, I have an online sewing school. So if you ever wanted to learn to sew, I teach you literally from the beginning. You have to have zero experience. But I didn't have that when I started. So I've just learned really through a lot of trial and error. What made you get into sewing as a career? Well, that was sort of an accident. It just sort of happened. I was working in film and production, and I needed a hobby, and so I started sewing again because I had stopped sewing for a while. I started sewing again, and then I decided that I was going to start blogging about sewing because I saw a lot of other sewing blogs, but nobody was really doing fashion sewing. Everybody was doing a lot of crafting and quilting, And I was sort of taking things that I saw on the runway and using commercial patterns to sort of modify them and recreate those items. And so I started my blog, and then within, a year and a half, my blog sort of, blew up. And now it is what it is. It's this huge blog, and is huge social media following, and being able to license my name and have my own products. That's sort of just happened from really just wanting to share how much I love sewing and wanting to teach other people. And that's really all I do, is teach other people how to do it. And I've been amazingly blessed that it's turned into what it is now. So I never really started with the intent of having a career in not just sewing, but in blogging, because I didn't even know that was a thing when I started. But that's sort of where it's taking me. And I'm guessing that the Lord gave me a gift, and that gift was to share it with everybody else. And so I'm trying my best to do that. How do I find time to unwind? My body does a really good job of telling me when to stop and sit down. So I guess, I guess when I feel it, I have a tendency of working. Like, I can work all day, I can work at night, I can work for long hours. But I really love what I do, so it doesn't feel like it. But sometimes I do, I know when I need to stop and rest. And I do. I just take the day off and, tell people not to bother me. Don't call me unless, the office is burning. I'm good. I'm taking the day off. So, I think it's something that you have to do with intent for sure. You have to decide, you know what? I'm not going to work. I'm going to take a day off. I'm going to take care of myself. And so that's what I do. Podcast apps that you use and what you listen to. So I mostly listen to my podcast on my iTunes, and I listen to a lot of crime, and I don't listen to business podcasts. I read business books, but I don't listen to business podcasts, or I got asked about business podcasts. I don't really listen to those. I listen to crime stories. So I'm obsessed with true crime, and so I listen to Case Files, Sword and Scale, Vanished. 2020 has a really great one. Let's see, what else? I think that's really all I'm listening to at the moment. Sword and Scale and Case Files are my favorite. And let's see, I'm a beginner in sewing and I want to know the best machine to purchase. I think I answered that already. Go to sewitacademy.com and pull on the resources tab, and it'll give you a list of all the sewing machines that I recommend for beginners. And while you're on there, check the facts page so you can see how Sew It Academy works. And so that's all I got for today. I hope I answered as many questions as I could in the short amount of time that I had today. I got to get back to my mom, but I will do some more Q&A next week or the week after. Peace.